Hi folks, it's John from lastchanceautorestore.com. I'd like to share with you another update. This is our custom resto mod that we're dry fitting. This is a 1971 Ford Maverick. So in an earlier video, we've been sharing quite a few videos on this build. Our client lives far away from where our shop is. So we've been basically sharing different steps. In a previous video, we were talking about the interior, the dashboard, and we shared with you with the Maverick dash out and the 2012 Mustang GT dash and console in the interior. So now our focus has went to the bottom of the car. So what we've done is it looks quite different now. There's quite a bit of work. It looks really simple now that it's all in, but I'm going to share with you some of the ideas that we had to come up with this. So basically, we've removed everything that was the 71 Maverick rear suspension and axle. And what we have now, believe it or not, and I don't think this has been done yet, is the 2012 Mustang GT setup. So we have our rear diff and axle housing. So everything that you see here with the bracing and this tube coming across, this bracket, these aftermarket supports for the stabilizer bars, between stock Mustang and upgraded aftermarket products, we're able to take everything from the back end of that 2012 Mustang GT and make it fit in this 1971 Maverick. So I'll point out quite a few things. First of all, I think the camera person can probably pick it up here. Very, very common early Mustangs. This Maverick is the same as a Comet and very similar to the early Mustangs, where these back support rails, where this is where the shackle support was, looks very barbaric right now because we just basically torched that off, which is the shackle supports for the original leaf spring on the Comet. It's very punky and rusty in here. We're well aware that we have to do quite a bit of work, but what we wanted to do is basically take a lot of measurements, make some brackets, see if, number one, is it possible that this can work? Can it fit in here? And if it does, can we get the right stance? Then once we have the right stance and it fits right, then we build all the brackets. Now this, once again, we've made these all from scratch. So you can see if I shine the light over here, these pieces of steel, they're a heavy gauge metal, and we've basically cut them, drilled the holes out just to give it a little bit different look, and we've basically tack welded and fastened everything together. Same thing with our upper supports. You can see there's all new steel tubing. We've welded it in here just to get everything to fit in. This is not the way we're going to leave this. We're going to, once we have everything fit in the back like we have, then we're going to do the front suspension. We have the basically a Mustang 2 front setup. Once we do the steering rack in the front and we fit the Coyote 5-liter in, we're basically going to have all the components as a rolling chassis in this Maverick. Once we know everything fits, we have all the brackets welded, we have all the drilling that we need to do, then we basically going to remove everything, put the Maverick body on a rotisserie, media blast or sandblast everything to bare metal, expose any weak and rusted areas, and then we'll cut out the steel wherever it needs repair. We're going to cut it out, put new steel in, and then that's where we'll do the detail work on all these brackets. We'll be grinding all of these welds. We'll polish the edges so they're rounded over. So all of this will be really clean and smooth, and all of these pieces that we've added to this car will look natural like they've always been there when we go to refinish it. So there's a lot of work, and I don't know how much you can see here with my head in the way and the glare, but so with the bracket set up here for the rear stabilizer bar and the stabilizer support, instead of just using the normal shocks, we have an upgraded adjustable coil spring and adjustable rate on the rear shocks. And I think the camera person can show up in the top where you see the upper shock. You can see where we have, once again, just tack welded brackets in place. And they can see where we're quite barbaric on that, the cross member where the coil, the yellow coil spring goes up into a pocket. So that support piece, we've made all of that, but around it is kind of nasty. So what we'll do as I mentioned later, we're going to close all that in, sand and polish everything properly, and it's quite a nice setup. So we have our coil springs, which are adjustable rate. We have our shocks, which are fully adjustable, and then we have this really nice stabilizer. So even this big bracket that you see here with the arms coming across, that is all out of the 2012 Mustang also. So all of that's been boxed in. We've made these pieces and everything fits as it should. So a couple of things you're going to see as we come back. You can see years ago where there was some body work done. You can see there's lots of body filler, which we were well aware of before. Someone's made these flares and added quite a bit of work around where they typically rusted and made this flare. Now, this rim and tire that's back here is a rear wide tire aftermarket. These are American racing wheels. You can see that it's obviously a posi tracker, limited slip differential also. There's not much tread left on these. These are from the donor car, the 2012 Mustang. These are approximately 11.5 inches wide. I don't believe we want them to stick out that far. We're going to rework the quarter panels out of metal to make it look like a wide body, but we're probably going to play with the wheel and tire size. But when the camera person comes, we've got a lot of kind of junk in the way. If we can use these wheels, these are quite large. These are a 295 35 ZR or ZR20, depending on what part of the country you live in. So these are quite a nice American racing wheel, very nice style. And then we have upgraded everything. We've got, you can see our rotors and our calipers. We have upgraded standard brake system with dual piston calipers. So we've got really serious braking and more of a race or performance type disc, and then we have really good calipers. So we wanted to use as much of the braking and components as we could from the 2012 Mustang, and we'll probably go with different rims and tires because we can play with the offset, the back spacing of the rim, and also obviously the width. Now, if we look back here, so the camera person comes from the back, you can see how wide that is. So I'm pretty sure it's about 11, almost 11.5 inches. Yeah, so we're roughly 11.5 inches wide, and it's quite a bit larger tire. Now, as an example or as a comparison, on this side, this is one of the front wheels that was on the vehicle of the Mustang, and these are 255 35 ZR or ZR tire, and then the measurement on that looks like roughly about 9.5 to 9 3/4 inches. You can see because of the back spacing, when you look at the top of the quarter panel to the wheel, it still is sticking out a little bit. This is probably more of what we kind of want to have, I believe, because when we go to flare the rear quarter to make it look like a wide body, this is not obviously as dramatic as going with an almost a 12-inch or 11.5-inch rim. So the other thing I should point out from the bottom side, and it's these trailing arms on the lower portion. So we talked about the brackets and the coil springs and the shocks, but then we also have these really nice pockets. And this is where a lot of people don't understand or brace it properly. So you can see here, this is our subframe, the original subframe. Once again, barbaric, we had to drill a hole in there because we wanted to have access, but we've made these really nice, out of plate steel, we've made very, very heavy brackets. They're enclosed on both sides, and we've boxed it in, and then we have the grade 8 bolts going through, nuts and bolts going through, and it obviously pivots at that pivot point, and these are aftermarket once again. Now, this is quite a nice setup, and you can see on this side too. So we can see where we have it all nicely boxed in. We've added a plate here to get it in the position it needs to be. As I mentioned earlier, after we media blast and sandblast all of these, we're probably going to see some rusted areas, but the nice thing about it is we'll put all new steel where we need to, and then when these are all ground down and polished, when we go to paint that, it's going to look original underneath. So what we're going to do to make this a better fit, speaking of the lower trailing arms and the top, you can see we have a ratchet strap here just holding the diff from tilting. We don't have the bracket at the top, but I think the camera person can pick up on this. There's another mounting point on the top of this diff. You can see we have rubber grommets on either side. There's a bracket that goes from here, and it's going to fasten to the body of the Maverick. So it's a mounting point that goes from the top of the diff to the body. It's a solid bracket from the 2012 Mustang. There's an aftermarket company that makes an adjustable one, and we want to be able to make sure that we align this Maverick properly. So we're going to buy an aftermarket bracket for the top that is adjustable, and then we're going to replace these non-adjustable lower trailing arms with adjustable ones. So they'll have Heim joints on each end, it'll be threaded, and we'll be able to adjust them. Because what we want to do is we want to make sure that we set the Maverick up after it's all mocked up with the engine and transmission, and we'll take it for an alignment, and we'll make sure that the guys at the alignment rack align not only the front but the rear of the car. We'll do the adjusting. When everything's adjusted, we're going to take everything all apart. We'll media blast all of these products, and then we'll powder coat them. So a lot of the suspension and stuff will be really, really nice because we'll powder coat as many components as we can, and then that, once it goes back in, when the car is all painted, we'll have a nice contrast with this newer suspension in this older Maverick. So sorry for rambling on too much, just wanted to share with you. It's quite exciting. I don't think it's ever been done before. We spoke with a lot of performance people and a lot of aftermarket suppliers, and they kept saying, well, that's cool, and I don't know if you can do it, especially things like adding the dashboard, the 2012 Mustang dash in a Maverick. They said it can't be done. So this is kind of neat. So it's we'll continue to share updates with this 71 Maverick. Our next step, when the components come in, will be the front end. So we'll remove the original Ford front end, we'll remove the shock towers, and we'll share with you the kit that we have coming for the independent front suspension and steering. So thank you for watching. I'm John from lastchanceautorestore.com.